Hello and welcome to Global Health Center's community discussion today. The reason that we're together is to learn more about how to optimize our physical, mental, and emotional health. And I'm very excited about today because we have someone that hasn't been with us for a while, Dr. Haslam, and he is going to help us to unblock our minds so that we don't sabotage our success. And this is a wonderful topic. I'm going to just take a few minutes, Vicky, usually to introduce. Usually Vicky introduces, but I'll introduce Dr. Daryl Haslam today. He's a personal success coach for entrepreneurs and business leaders and has been working at it for over 30 years. He's a certified cellular health coach, as well as a certified habit finder coach, and also a licensed adult and family therapist for 30 years. Is the director of his own counseling clinic in Utah called Emotional Freedom Child and Family Counseling. He got his master's degree in social work in 1995 from Brigham Young University here in Utah. He's a PhD in marriage and family therapy in 2006 from Texas Tech. And he holds an advanced child therapy certification as a registered play therapist and supervisor. You might want to tell us what that is later on. And has also been a university professor for nearly 20 years in behavioral science courses, both in Missouri and Utah. Recently, he's left the university in January of this year and has been self-employed full-time. And he's building his own counseling clinic and coaching business. And for the last 10 years has been fascinated with and studying the psychology of entrepreneurship, and helps intentional creators of wealth, I suppose, create their life dreams. As well as remove the barriers that block and sabotage success. We're excited to hear from Dr. Daryl Haslam today, and just take it away, Daryl.
All right, thank you. So nice to be with you guys, and I'm grateful for Gary and Iris giving me this opportunity. We recently just kind of reconnected and had a real nice meeting the other day, Gary. That was really nice, and yeah, I've missed this community. I've really enjoyed my participation in it, and so I'm just happy to see those you have seen before and those who I haven't. It's nice to meet you. So for those who Swedish out there, hey do. That's my limited little bit of Swedish that I know. I know a couple other things that could get me in trouble, but I won't don't do those right now. But it's exciting to see you guys. So yeah, it's been an exciting road for me. When I was involved with CHC before, I was doing the coaching business and these other things part-time. Now I'm in a place where I'm doing them full-time, and it's really been an evolution for me personally to get to a point where I could be able to break off on myself and work for myself and do my own thing. And I know there's a lot of people, a lot of you are doing that already and various levels of success. Some of you are maybe contemplating doing that. I mean, doing the part-time thing, like, should I do my own thing or not? That's one thing I think Gary and I really resonate, is that he's, really done this big leap for the last several years, building CHC and taking the big leap to all these big things. And a lot of people think about doing those things, but a lot of people don't, or people try to do them and they stop. And so today's presentation, really, there's so much we can talk about this topic. There's no way I can get all the depths of the things I'd like to talk about in the short amount of time we have. But today I'm focusing on the differences between those who are engaging in an entrepreneurial path, creating a life that they want, and those who are maybe getting stuck in it or not doing it, or whatever reason, getting blocked in doing it. And so, this has resonance for any of you who are either on the entrepreneurial path or who are considering being on the entrepreneurial path. But it also will help those of you who are coaches, understand some of the nuances of the differences in thinking that we need to have to be successful entrepreneurs. for anybody you might want to coach or mentor. So this has kind of a double application for your own ability to coach people you're coaching, as well as for yourself personally. So let me jump into, oops, I need to bring my window up again to share. There we go. All righty. All right, so here is the presentation here, and I'm going to try to keep the windows open so I can kind of see a little bit. I don't have the chat open, so Gary, help me out if there's anything in the chat I need to know about. Just bring that to my attention. All right, so creating your big life dreams. Anyone out there a big dreamer, have big dreams for your life? Raise your hand. Yeah, got big goals, things you want to create, things you want to do. Awesome. I figure I'd be talking to kindred spirits here. That's me. That's the way I've been too, for a long time. But I haven't always been. This is an important thing. In the bio that Gary mentioned, it's been the last 10 years or so. For me, I wasn't thinking like an entrepreneur, intentional creator, probably a little bit more than 10 years ago. I was I was a professor at a university, tenured professor, and enjoyed that lifestyle. I had a counseling practice on the side, and was really living, it was a nice life, but it was very much within the bounds of someone with my degree and my training. And Gary's been in that position too, with university level stuff. And so it was very, very normal, right? But there wasn't any chances, and he wasn't branching out of that. And I won't get into the stories now, but through the series of events around that 9 or 10 years ago, some things shifted my thinking, where I started thinking in terms of creating a larger impact on the world than the clients who could come see me in my office, or the students that I had in my classes, that I had training and I had ideas and I had things that really could have a global reach. Again, kind of like what Gary has created with CHC. And so I started expanding my thinking. I started changing my thinking. I started studying, how do people that create, their entrepreneurs, that have their own businesses, how do they think? How do they act? How do they operate? And what I found out was that there's a distinctive difference in how they think and how they operate that is different than most other people. They're the one percenters. They're the ones who think in a different kind of way. And so today's presentation is kind of distilling some of those attitudes and some of those mindsets that I've discovered are key things for people who are successfully on that path versus those who aren't. Okay, so that's kind of the backdrop here. So let's kind of think about this right now. And I can open this up for a little bit of comments right now, kind of a pre-discussion, is what skills are needed to create big dreams in real life? And what is the difference between being a dreamer and a dream creator? So anybody have any thoughts on either of those questions?
Skills?
Vicky,
Yeah, I would say all I need to begin with
what
is
are you
a dream.
thinking?
I think I need a dream. I need to dare and dream.
Any thoughts?
You can't hear me?
Oh, now I can hear you. Right.
Okay.
I couldn't hear for a second.
I think all you need is dare to dream. Because
Okay.
if you don't dare to dream, you can't make a plan.
Right. So having a dream, we call it the gift of visualization, right? Being able to visualize is a key component, isn't it? If you can't visualize or dream or create something mentally, we'll talk about that here a little bit more, then you're not going to get any farther than that, are you?
Right. Without a vision, the people perish.
Right.
And once you
Right.
have a vision, then you've got to take action. Otherwise, it's just a daydream. So you've got
Right.
to step out on faith and act. And you don't even need to know how to do it. You just got to step out and begin. And you keep your eyes on that vision, and the path will come about.
Right. Right. Thank you. And Brent, I know that you're big on that and how you coach as well. That vision is a core part of the coaching you do with people as well. So I know you live by that. So,
Can I mention something too?
yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I think also being able to have the skills of setting goals and taking step-by-step action and such is necessary. It's a kind of a discipline. I don't know if we'd call it a skill, but it's a discipline that you need to achieve, I think.
Yes, that's really, really good, Gary. And that's one thing I really appreciate about the CHC curriculum is that it has both components, the visualization we're trying to do, but also breaking things down into goals and actions and things like that. And, you think about this third question, does it ever feel like there's so many people with big dreams in their lives, but relatively few that are successful? Do you guys feel like that happens a lot? There are a lot of people that have big dreams for life. They have a lot of things they want, but how many of them actually get to create it or are successful in creating it tangibly? I think there's a lot less people. And, is it just the lucky few, that are successful at that? Or is it, again, a skill or discipline that happens? And I think Dr. Gary talked about, kind of touched on that, is just between a dreamer and a dream creator. You definitely, like Vicky says, you definitely have to be a dreamer to get started, but there are a lot of people who just dream and they don't get to be a dream creator. And that's one of the things we're going to flesh out today, is about being a dream creator, someone who creates it in real life, right? Not just thinks about it. So let's think about this. This is kind of personal, but what are the frustrations or barriers that you have held you back or that you've experienced in either just trying to, deciding to enter that creation path or getting on that creation path, and then, maybe having some barriers or blockages? Are there particular things that have killed your motivation or passion as you've engaged in this road or considered taking action? Any thoughts?
I'll share.
I want me to have
Okay.
meetings here.
Okay. All right, Jackie, go ahead.
My thoughts were external and internal. So
Okay.
other people, making their comments, and could have an effect. And then my own, just those little comments.
Okay, those little comments, can you tell me a little more about that? What you mean by that?
So externally, say people close to you, they're not having that same dream. So that could crush it,
Mhm.
and I'm not here to convince them or anything, but they're just not on board because that's not their dream. And so just not feeling that support. And then internally, it's just something new. Just like anything else, you're learning new, you're trying to, figure out what to do. So I already know I'm in the right place.
Yeah, good.
Is that good enough to share?
Yeah, that's some really good
Thanks.
stuff. I appreciate that, Jackie. Yeah, it is so hard when you're creating something and, the people around you, and you love them, and, it's great. But a lot of people around you don't always understand your dream, and they don't share the vision of it. And then other people, they know us, the good and the bad, and they go, that person, you're doing that. I know that, you don't always, always a perfect person, right? And so they bring out that humanness, and they throw out doubt, they throw out, maybe some critical comments or things like that. So that can be really hard to rebound from. And then internally, we all have our own, insecurities and adequacies. There's a big mental game. We're going to talk about that. There's a big mental game when you're trying to engage in this process. And that mental game is really, really crazy. It can really be self-defeating and sabotaging if we're not careful, if we allow that mental game to take control of us in a negative way. So that's cool. Any other thoughts?
I was having a thought, because this is what I've always lived by, that if I have a dream, or if I have a goal, or if I have anything I want to do, I always decide with myself that the only one that can kill that is me. And I think we all know dream stealers, or people that will try to steal your dream because they're either afraid or they don't understand it or whatever else is wrong. But I think it can actually, in my book, it can be cut down quite simple and say, if you have a dream and you believe it, then don't abandon it. Stay
Right.
with it and don't let anyone kill it for you.
Mm.
Yeah,
That
I
is
have
sage advice.
I have another comment on top of that. You have a dream and you're running full speed, toward that dream. And you trip up and you fall and you get skinned and hurt and banged up, and or things in life happen to you, might not be even your own fault. And then it's easy to say, well, I'm a failure, I'll never catch up. I'll never be able to do this, I'm not able, I'm not capable, all that sort of negative things, and it's hard to get back up and try to win the race again.
That is so, so true. That again, that's the mental game. It is a really hard thing. And it's a key thing. What we do with that, and how we use that and how we rebound from that makes all the difference. And back to Vicky's comment, one of the most tragic things I've seen in the world is someone who is a creator who's not creating. And I've just seen someone who has big dreams and they've given up on dreams. They've given up on creating. And to me, there's just such a sad energy about that, about someone who should be creating, who has the instincts to create, and they're not creating, as opposed to someone who has that and is creating and is actively, even if it's a tough road, is out there creating. That is just the most powerful energy there is to me. It's just an amazing energy. All right, I'm going to jump on as I want to get into the
Can I
meat of
say
this.
something first?
Yeah, go ahead.
Karen here.
Karen,
Because
hey, it's good to see you.
It's nice to see all of you. It's so funny because Monica and I are discussing this matter every other day from my concern, because I always keep saying that, why do I never get there? I always stop. And I remember the CHC course and how we had to go past and we had to do, but I realize I have something big that I need to take care of. And recently there are two Swedish guys, or one Swedish guy who's one of Bob Proctor's super students, and he is a fantastic guy, and he's giving away for free 3 afternoons or four sessions for free for the Swedish people to join and listen and ask questions. And he's talking, and I've been on this for two times, and I'm going to go one more time, because every time there's something happening to me and I start to act for once and all, I'm acting now. And I realize that my goal is further away, but I need to pass this giant hinder I have. And as Vicky said, I'm the only one who can do it. And I realize that now. But then I also set for myself that I don't have to do it immediately. I can do a little bit every day, and I will reach there, because I'm not going to give up on this. I know when that is done, all the other doors will be open and I can go on to catch my goal. Just a reflection.
Yeah. Thank you, Karen.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate that. That's a great thought. Awesome. So here are the 3 things we're going to cover in the presentation part of this. First, I'm going to discuss this core mental shift needed to become a successful entrepreneur, like the key ingredient. Then I'm going to talk about 7 keys to being or becoming a successful entrepreneur, dream creator. And then the last thing is the fundamental difference between those who are successful in creating their life dreams and those who aren't. And that actually is covered in the 7th key that I'll talk about. And that will be what we're doing. So a little bit about me, as Gary talked about, personal success, performance, relationship coach. For me, it's all together. Our relationships, our life enhancement, how we're creating, it's all together. And one of the things that I love to use both as a therapist and as a coach is really that 360 kind of view of your life and looking at all those things that are holding people back from being the genius that they are. And there's just so many things that enter into that. So that's the kind of cool stuff I like to be involved in. Founder director of Emotional Freedom Life, which is an organization I also created online in addition to my clinic that was about 10 years ago that I started that, and doing seminars and doing different things like that. So I've been therapist, professor, community entrepreneur, and a dad, and a husband. So that's my kids. It's an old photo, so they're older now. I'm older, although I still had gray hair back then. But that's been going on for a long time. So that's a little bit about me. So the first thing here then is the core mental shift about becoming a successful entrepreneur. And one thing is that a lot of times we are good at dreaming and sometimes doing, but sometimes not both. And so that's one of the things that kind of like Gary was capturing is we need to be able to dream as well as be able to execute, right? And so one thing, entrepreneurs, intentional creators think differently than other people. That's one thing I've found, and I'm probably preaching to the choir on this, that you guys being part of this program, this organization, are those who are intentional creators. But like Vicky was saying, there are people who don't think that way. And if you're not engaged in intentionally creating and creating a dream for your future, she's right, you're never going to get any farther than that. And there are a lot of people who struggle with that. So as you're coaching with people and as you're talking to people, realize that there are some people who aren't as naturally focused on, yeah, I can create my future. That's a new idea for some people. It's getting out there, but some people don't always think that way. Successful entrepreneurs embrace different attitudes, hold different beliefs, and apply different skills in life than the rest of the people. All right. So for you to be successful in this path, you must think and act differently than most other people. That's why the dream killers we can't let them enter our head, because most of those dream killers are people who aren't thinking that way and they aren't executing their dreams. So how can they tell you if you can do yours? So we have to just focus on our own stuff there. Okay. So there's a lot of people that have big life dreams who want to create. There are tons of people out there.
Oh, Daryl, you cut off for about.
He's back.
You're back.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Did I kind of fade out there for a sec?
You froze.
Okay. So there's a lot of people who create big life dreams, but there's relatively few who don't. And there's a difference between that mental creation and physical creation. We're talking about mental creation is the creating that in your head, and then physical creation is creating it in reality in your life around you. And so we want to be the dream creators, the ones who are actually doing it in real life. Okay, so here's a mountain. Here in Utah, we've got a lot of mountains. I think in Sweden, you guys got some mountains, depending where you are, parts of Europe. I know some of the Australians. There's some mountains in certain places. So think about the mountains, right? Imagine you're climbing a large mountain. And then think about these questions. How do you feel when you're thinking about or planning on mountains? I just look up my window and there's a pretty good mountain out there. I could climb if I wanted to, unless we're going to climb it and we get excited about, oh yeah, I can do this. I want to be on top of that peak. And then you actually start hiking. So you prepare for it, get your stuff together, start making that hike. Feels pretty good, right? I'm here doing this hike. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be fun. But how many of you have tried to hike a mountain and realized the fun does not last indefinitely? Does the fun fade after a little bit? Once the sweat starts happening, and maybe those of us who, aren't used to climbing mountains, that breath starts going and it's the chug-a-lug, right? We start feeling it, lungs start burning, and then the legs start aching, and then you're like, oh, I need to rest. Why am I doing this? And that's feeling hot, right? Have you guys been through that? Anyone been through that before?
I think of it ahead of time and don't want to climb a mountain.
You already figured that's what's going to happen. Like, why would I want to even do that, right? And that's a good one, Vicky, because that's like our dreams, right? Some people look at that, oh, that's just too much work. I don't even want to go there, right? And that blocks a lot of people from even getting started, right? And so what happens though, if you persevere and you make it to the top of that peak, what's the feeling? Ah, this feels so great. I love this. Is a great view. I accomplished this. I did this. It feels really good. But how many people, are tempted to quit or turn back? And how many people do quit or turn back when they're in the midst of all of that? How many people complain about, oh, it's just hot, or it's unpleasant, or there's too many bugs, or there's bruises or scrapes, they suffer along the way. My daughter, my 13-year-old daughter, just went on a camp out with her her youth young women's group, a month or so ago, and I heard about it. I didn't get to go, but they went to these in Utah. We have these like gorgeous narrow canyons, right? These narrow canyons, you kind of rappel down into these little areas, and then they hiked out. But the only way to hike out is through these narrows where you have to basically hike through a river. It's just a river that's probably like knee deep, shin deep. But what I heard a lot of girls saying is like they couldn't see, there were a lot of rocks in the water, but they couldn't see the rocks because the water wasn't clear enough. And so they were just getting scraped and falling, getting bruised up. And it was just, it was an ordeal where they did, and they got through. Like, oh, that wasn't always fun. It was a lot of scrapes or bruises along the way. But does that not happen for us a lot of times when we're engaging in our dreams and creating our dreams? Are there scrapes and bruises along the way that we suffer? Absolutely. And one of the things here, is this book. I'll just kind of do a shout out. This is my mentor, my coaching mentor, Dave Blanchard. He's actually also a Utah-based guy. He lives up in Huntsville, in Utah, a little bit closer where Brent is. And he's written this book, Equanimity, Conquering the Entrepreneur. And it's a really cool book because he talks about, uses this metaphor and like, hey, we're going to climb the mountain, and we're parking in the parking lot, and we're like, oh, this is going to be the greatest thing ever. And you start walking up to the path, and you see all these people coming back that are bruised or scraped up or complaining. You're like, what happened to them? Well, I'm excited about this climb. I'm going to get super excited about it. And you get going, but then you get on the road and you experience a lot of that. And it's the truth of what happens when we're in the creation path, is that we're going to encounter some of that. So that's part of the keys that I'll talk about. And that just kind of wanted to throw that metaphor as kind of a backdrop. Okay. So key number one, and we're just going to touch the surface of these. These are things, we could talk about great in depth. But one of the things is becoming a visionary, intentional creator. Exactly what Vicky was mentioning. Most regular people, I'll just put it that way, I don't know how to say it, don't really create a vision for their future. They just go about life. And one of the cool things I learned as a coach was the difference between the law of cause and the law of effect. It's not the law of cause and effect, which we normally talk about. The law of cause and law of effect. The law of effect is that we go about life being affected by other people, external events, situation. We live our life just kind of reacting to the world around us. Most people live in the law of effect. Law of cause are the people who make things happen. They're the people who cause things to happen. And really, it is only the 1%ers, 5%ers that live in the law of cause. Those are the people who are making things happen. They're the ones that are creating. For everybody who created something, they had to go through the mental creation process, and they had to go through all the barriers that existed to make that dream happen. The chair you're sitting on, the table you're next to, the house you're in, or whatever it is, was created, but there are always barriers for that creation process. But someone had to live in cause in order to create that. There are a lot of people who thought about creating it who stayed in effect and never created it. So that's one of the things that we really have to really embolden and epitomize, is that creation energy. Okay. Number two is balance between mental creation and physical creation. So kind of just taking that, the next step is we need to not just mentally create our life, our ideal life, but physically create it. And I know you're saying, yeah, of course, that makes a lot of sense, right? Here's the university professor in me. But here's what I'm going to tell you the truth. Most entrepreneurs struggle in this area. 95% of entrepreneurs and creators struggle between doing the mental creation and physical creation. They get tripped up in a lot of ways. And that's one of the biggest barriers that keeps us from actually getting to the peak and completing the hike, is what happens here. For a lot of entrepreneurs, a couple things happen. Okay. Number one possibility is we're great visualizers and we're great dreamers, and then we get lost in fantasy. Have any of you get lost in fantasy where you're creating this dream and you have this business, or you have this book you want to write, you have all these things you want to do, and you dream about it and you want to create it, and then things don't happen and you're frustrated because you've got this dream and it's not happening. And you get frustrated, right? And you just don't know how to what to do about that. Creates frustration, disappointment. That's one of the things that happens for us when we're visual creators. We get lost in fantasy. The second one, common one that happens, is we call catastrophizing. That is the other one. I think it was maybe Vicky had mentioned, or one of you had mentioned, was where you get going and you stop before you start because you realize all the things that go into that. Well, I could do that. Oh, but then I've got to do this. I got to do the marketing. I've got to create this. I've got to that and do. I just don't know. I'm not up to it, or I don't know if now's a good time, or I just don't know if that can, if that is going to work out for me. So what happens? We get inspired ideas, and we talk ourselves out of the inspired ideas almost as quickly as we get them. Has that happened to anyone out there?
Can I comment on
Yes.
the mentally
Sure.
and physical creation?
Yes, but of course.
I've been a soldier for a lot of years, and at one point we were going to go a march called Nijmegen in Netherlands. The thing about that march is that you are going about 60 kilometers, and you are going to see the same mill all the way. It's like the mill doesn't move. We started out about 154 people, I think it was. And we were 8 that finished.
Wow. That's crazy.
It was like it tore them up. I said, don't look at the mill. Look at something else. Yeah, but I keep seeing the mill. So I said, shut your eyes and don't look at it. But, we are as different as people are. That's just how it is. And sometimes you will see people that will make sure that things are happening and are with the thing when it's happening, or the one that's kind of wondering what happened, and I can't find the mistakes in this, or the one that's wondering what happened when they went the other way.
Right. That's such a great example. Thank you for sharing that. It
Just
really
to,
sounds like it's a test of your mental attitude.
The comment, what is a male?
I don't know if I thought she said mill. I don't,
Mill. It's a mill.
A mill. One that's grinding weed and buckwheat and stuff
Right.
like that.
yeah.
Netherlands is known for their mills.
Oh,
The one that's going around when it's
Yeah.
when
okay,
the wind is
maybe
blowing.
maybe I just didn't understand how far you were walking. You said only a few of us. I don't know how you could see one mill the whole, I don't, okay.
I don't know either, but it's the case.
So yes, thank you for that. That's a great analogy. And it really, again, tests people's mental attitude, what you're expecting, what you're wanting, and it really does stumble on a really key success principle, Vicky, is that, we have to find joy in that creation process. One of the problems, again, that happens for entrepreneurs and visualizers is we get so attached to our dream and we want it so badly. And it's not bad, but it can create a lot of problems for us and rob us of our passion because we just want to get to the dream and we just want to get to that destination, and we forget about the journey that's there. And I kind of saw that what you were mentioning, Vicky, was, yeah, so why have to watch this mill and have to, see the whole time when I just get there? Instead, what about all the things you're experiencing while you're walking along that path? Maybe the flowers along the way, or the trees, or I don't know if there's a stream, but we have to enjoy the creation process to be able to get to the place that we're going to go, the hike. You have to just enjoy the things you're seeing along the way, and the bends in the path, and the glimpses of seeing the view along the way, just as much as you want to get to the peak. If you can do that, then you're balancing that mental creation and physical creation because you're at peace as you're making those little steps along the way. You know, it's a Chinese proverb that a journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step. It just starts with one step, another step, and another step. Okay. So cool. Right. All right. So let me jump into the third one. Embrace, this is kind of building on what we just said. Embrace the reality of hard work, pain, trials, and struggling. If any of you think that getting to your dream, your big life dream, your ideal life, creating that thing you want to create is just going to happen and be exciting and not have a lot of work and trials and struggling, you just better get over that idea right now. Every single dream has hard work, pain, trials, struggling. Matter of fact, my mentor, Dave Blanchard, says when we're in creation, you know, there's pain involved. And the problem is and Gary knows this, understanding the brain like he does, right, Gary, is that we have this tendency to want to steer away from pain. Isn't that kind of human reflex? And we don't like pain. But we have to go through pain to get to the other side. How many of you have been to a gym and complained that there's so many heavy weights? Why are there so many dang heavy weights at the gym? That is just awful. I hate those heavy weights, right? Now, if you had that kind of attitude and you go to the gym, it's probably the last time you're visiting that gym, right? Or any gym at all. Like, oh, I just don't like it. There's just too many heavy weights there. But don't we kind of do that sometimes in life when we're trying to create our dreams? Ah, just too many trials, just too many struggles. It's just too much work. Right, it is too much work. But that's the only way you get to where you want to be. Passion, the concept of passion is the willing to suffer for something you love. If you have passion for something, you have enough passion that you're willing to suffer for that thing you want to create. And that's why your passion is so important. You've got to ignite your passion so that when the tough things happen, you keep going. With my clinic that I've been building, I've been building it for a little more than a year. And then since I left university, now it's been 6 months full time, and I've been working this thing like crazy. And, you know, some results have happened. Some have happened more slowly than I've wanted to. But I just got thrown a curveball here just last month where my partner, the guy who I've been practicing with, who's been my mentor as a child therapist for 30 years, and the guy I was leasing this office space from, suddenly died from a massive heart attack just about a month ago. And that not only the loss of my friend, he was there one day, he was gone the next. And so not only that, but now I've got to save my business because the place I'm practicing, where I'm building this clinic with my therapist and me, is now in jeopardy because he had the office space. He was leasing it from another person. So long story short is I just, put on my tough boots and I met with the people who own the building, made arrangements to take on the position as the primary leasee. I'm talking to his wife to see if I can buy the practice or do something so I can connect with his clients and let them know I'm here to, take over, resume the counseling that you had so we can help his clients out. And a lot of really big things that have caused a lot of stress and anxiety and been a little bit of fear for me. And the only way that I could do it, I was talking to my brother-in-law about all this, and he's like, Daryl, how are you doing this? I mean, this is like some really bold stuff. I said, the only way I'm able to do this is because I've been training my mind to think this way for the last several years, to think like an entrepreneur, and realizing that there will be big curveballs that happen. There will be unexpected things. I know Gary's experienced that with CHC. There's been a lot of really big things that happen, and you've got to just have the attitude those things are going to happen when you're creating your dream. And you just got to get that grit. You just got to dig in there and you figure out a way to solve the problem. That is one of the things I've talked to entrepreneurs. They have this attitude when things get tough, the tough get going. They just dig in there and they figure out a way around it, or they figure out a way to make things work somehow, some way. You've got to have that grit, that tough attitude in order to do it. Otherwise, those people, when they get those tough times, they quit. They turn back. They go, well, I guess I really didn't want that dream bad enough, or I guess I'm not ready for it, or, maybe it's not the right timing, or who was I kidding? I'm going to go back to my regular job because at least that's familiar. I know I can do that, right? Isn't that what happens for a lot of people all the time? And then dreams die. When we abandon the dream creation process, the dream dies. It's a very sad thing. Okay. Key number 4, adopt a new view about risk and mistakes. One of the biggest barriers for entrepreneurs and potential creators is the fear of failure and taking chances. We don't like to take chances. It's another thing. We avoid pain. We also avoid fear and risk. And that is a real fear that holds a lot of people back. That, I just can't take that. Right now, it's kind of scary with the risk I'm taking with my clinic. I signed on as the primary leasee. Well, guess what? That comes with a rent that is higher than what I'm able to pay, given what I'm making in my practice right now. Okay, let's just be honest with that. Is that a risk? Absolutely. That's create some fear? Even this week? Yes. That rent's going to come due. So they're going to be a break for a few months, and then it's going to get a lot higher after that. So I've got a short amount of time where I got to build this business. I got to scale this up. And I have confidence I can do that. But boy, is there some risk involved? Absolutely. Absolutely. And so it's easy to get focused on that and to turn away or not do it because we're not taking chances. But nothing ventured, nothing gained, right? We've heard that term. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. And so the only way to get past your dream, to get to the point, is you've got to take those chances. You got to take risk. Yeah, you might fail, but failure is just a practice shot. Failure is just, there's big failures and small failures, but failure, is just something that happens along the way. We have failures, we have mistakes, and you've got to be able to have an attitude where you can make mistakes and have failures and not have it kill your dream. That is super important. Okay. All right, jump along so we can get through these before our time is up. Acting in spite of fear is another key thing. When you're in creation, you will feel fear and angst. Okay, because you're creating something big. You're creating something that's new. I think Vicky had said that as well. You're going into the land of uncertain. With my clients, I use the metaphor of Columbus and sailing the seas, right? Imagine what it was. I mean, back then at that time, they really felt like the world was flat, or to a degree. I think some people like Columbus, they figured it probably wasn't, which is why he did it. But a lot of people felt like that horizon line is the end of the world, and there wasn't anything else out there. And imagine being on that ship, or those ships, and now you're gone out there so far, and now you no longer see land. Everywhere you look is just ocean. There's no land. Land is safety. Land is what you know. Land is where we have life. Imagine how scary that would be. Columbus, are you sure? I mean, we're out here in the middle of ocean, and all I see is ocean, and we're keeping going into ocean. Are you sure there's something on the other side? What happens if you're wrong? What happens if we're all going to die out here? Can you see how real that is? Does that not feel like that for our dreams sometimes? It took me a lot of years to get to the point where I left salary employment to work for myself full time. That's scary. That's hard. Are you sure you can do it? Well, okay. I no longer have a guaranteed paycheck. I no longer have a guaranteed paycheck. I get paid by my clients. If my clients don't pay me, I don't make money. Flat out. That's it. And so, is there some fear when we go into that world where, okay, this is risky? Absolutely. That can be. Sixth key that's really important is you need to embrace a journey of growth and being challenged. This goes down to those mental habits. It goes into our thinking. One of the biggest problems we have is that people create a dream that's bigger than their life right now, which is beautiful. But what the mistake they make is they want to create that dream being the same person they are right now. You've heard it before, right? You've done this as coaches. What you have in your life right now is a result of the thinking and the actions of your past that brought you to this point. So if you want something bigger in life, how are you ever going to get there if you're thinking and acting the same way as you did that's brought your current reality? It's not going to happen, is it? The only way for you to create something bigger than what you have is by becoming bigger than you are right now. I think actor Will Smith said, create a dream that is so big that it scares you to create it. That brings both these keys into focus. When you engage an entrepreneur and a dream creator, you need to be willing to confront your fears, confront your mental demons, to confront those parts of you that you don't like, because those are the parts of you that are going to hold you back from your dream. If you're going to stay away from that fear and that pain of growing and being challenged, you will not be as successful as you could be as a dream creator. It just can't happen. Those people who are fearless and brave say, okay, I'm just going to put it all out there. I'm going to get the help I need to help work through these mental barriers. Those are the people who are successful. There is no other way. As I've had to confront my limiting beliefs, my self-sabotaging beliefs. I've had to get help from trusted people to help me work through those. That is the path. But again, our natural tendency is to not want to go to those places where those painful parts of ourselves exist. And then we convince ourselves that we don't need that. I had a real deep and beautiful conversation with a woman a couple weeks ago, potential coaching client. And we did an assessment on her, which I'll talk about in a minute, where it measured her thinking habits. And she's a children's author. She's written 3 children's books, and she was consulting me about some mental health things because she created a 4th book. But we got into her internal world. And on the outside, she's got things pretty nailed down. People think, oh, you've got this together. You're doing these great things. Internally, it's a messy world for her. And I looked at her and I just said, do people realize that it takes all of your energy and willpower to just get yourself into that zone where your best self is? Like, to get to a place where she's creating and doing things, I could just see like that is taking all of your energy and your willpower just to get you into that good zone where you're able to create, because there's so much mental traffic that is throwing her off. She goes, no, people don't realize it. Maybe a few people were close to me, but she goes, most people thought I have it together. They don't realize how intense this mental traffic is inside of her. And I just put out an invitation. I just say, hey, would you want to be free of that? All of that angst and that stress and all these mental habits that are fighting against you. Don't you want to be free of that? So I'll think about it. And then she messaged me about a week later, said, oh, I'm not going to move forward with it. But I said, you have all this stuff going on. She's like, yeah, I feel pretty good about my decision. But I think for her, it was her defenses or protectors, we talked about in CHC, got a hold of her. And our protectors are there to say, hey, you're okay. You're fine as you are. You don't need to take anything extra. We've made it this far, this 30, 40, 50, 60 years thinking this way. We'll be all right. We don't need to do anything new. We don't need to make any big changes. We're fine. And those protectors are, they're the demon, aren't they, sometimes, Gary? So the last one, which is the core thing that really is the most important thing between success and non-success, is your habits of thinking. Really is what it's all about. Augmendino talks about this, and I'll just read real quick one of the statements that I love. And this comes from the greatest salesman in the world, if you're familiar with the book, Augmendino Run. Says I'm Augmendino habit finder coach. I've studied Aug stuff for quite a number of years now. But this is what he says. In truth, the only difference between those who have failed and those who have succeeded lies in the differences of their habits. Good habits are the key to all success. Bad habits are the unlocked door to failure. The first law I will obey, which will precedeth all others, is I will learn form good habits and become their slave. So your habits, your thinking habits, are the core thing that determines if you're successful or not. And that's a very personal thing. And we have mindset, which is really great. That's our attitude and those things that, you know, ignite our passion, get our stuff together. But without thinking habits that support that, we're never going to get there. How many times do people get excited to go to the gym or get healthy or do these things? And how long does that feeling last? Month, 2 months, right? And New Year's resolutions. 92% of people who make New Year's resolutions fail in them. Only 8% actually do it. And the reason why they don't do it is they don't shift the thinking habits that will sustain the changes that they're trying to make. And here's the key thing, and you guys know this going through CHC, most of our thinking habits that fuel our success are subconscious, deeply emotional, and very deep in our psyche. Most of these thinking habits are a very low level, or very, very deep level of thinking. Gary has a really great way of explaining that with the mental habits, that most things are processed through where? Our subconscious brain, isn't it? That's where most processing happens. And then our thinker brain comes up with a reason why we're doing what we're doing. Well, this is the reason why I'm doing this. And this makes sense because most of our decisions, folks, happen at that subconscious level. And because of that, we need to be able to shift our thinking at that subconscious level in order to get to somewhere different. If we don't shift that subconscious thinking, then we're going to be maybe playing different music, but dancing the same dance over and over again. I hate to be a doomsayer, Debbie Downer, but like, that's the way it works, right, Gary?
Yep, that is it. Thank you, Daryl.
So just real quick. So you know, I'll just kind of finish up real quick. So there's assessment that I do if people are interested in doing. Gary actually I did look at my thing. You did do it a number of years ago. Monica's taken it, I believe, and Kim or Karen may have done it as well. If you've done it, you know, in the few years past, I'm happy to redo it with you. But if you really want to get to know what your thinking habits are doing, we have a great assessment. It takes about 10 or 15 minutes. And then we'll sit down and we can do it and talk about that. If you're really serious about wanting to get, find out what your thinking habits are doing and where your thinking habits are keeping you from your goals. And then we can talk about some ways that can help you kind of get past that. Okay. So there's that. Thank you for your time. Here it is. This is how you can contact me. I'm on Facebook. Some of you, just real quick about my Facebook, if you were Facebook friends with me before with CHC and you look your thing, I'm no longer Facebook friends with you. It's because my Facebook profile was hacked into and then disabled by Facebook. So I actually have a new one. So the picture that they used in the email is the one you can find my new profile. So if I'm not on your list, please friend me and you can connect with me there, or you can email me on this email. Thank you so much, everybody, for your time.
Wonderful. How many would like to hear or know about more about the 7 keys to reducing self-sabotage? That's wonderful, Daryl. I really appreciate that you have shared that with us. Again, email is Dr. Daryl or Daryl?
Dr. Daryl, basically.
Dr. Daryl, PhD coach.
PhD coaching.
Yeah, you even capitalized it, and I can't pronounce it, but I think
right. Just Dr. Daryl, Darryl.
PhD coaching at gmail.com. And feel free to reach out to Daryl.
This is my glory shot with Jack Canfield. If you're not familiar with Jack Canfield, I just get my moment with Jack.
Good thing. I take a lot of my material also from him. And I've even done some stuff with Brandon before, so maybe we can talk about that. That's great.
Right.
Well, love to see you all. Love to see you back, Daryl. I'm glad you're in the saddle still, and still pulling up. I wanted to just mention one thing. Don't get discouraged, because as you go through these things and you start taking those steps, like you say, you actually gain more confidence if you make those steps, you know, achievable, daily, weekly, achievable type of goals. And you say, hey, now I can pull myself up with one arm. You know, so maybe climbing that mountain is not going to be so difficult. So great. Love you all. Thanks for your time here.
And Daryl.
Yes, sir.
Next week, I'm going to be doing the cardiovascular cure. And since your friend just died from that, you want to tap into that Zoom call.
Yeah, okay. Sounds like a deal.
Yeah, in
For sure.
fact, you want to tap into everything we do here at the Global Cellular Health Coaching Center. We are a group, we're together, and together we're stronger. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you so
any
much,
other
Daryl.
questions? You go ahead. Any questions or comments?
I just want to say it's difficult, we always say, to predict the future, but that's not true. We create it ourselves.
Amen. Yes.
Such golden nugget there.
Yes.
All right. Well, I'm glad to be
heard
part of you, and I do plan on staying connected, and certainly love to reach out and connect with any of you who are interested in that. So just let me know.
That was just so wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Great.
Melanie.
Appreciate it. And we will see all of you. Hopefully, Daryl, you'll be coming to our discussions every
Yeah,
week.
I can come next week. I was telling Dr. Gary, I do have some meetings on Thursday mornings, but every other week usually. So it will limit to me on the off week, so I'll definitely try to make it. But next week I actually can make it, and then the week after I'll be in another meeting. So
Right. You're certainly welcome.
thank you.
All right. Well, very, very good. We'll see you all then next week. And Brent will be, as always, giving us excellent advice on how we can keep our physical and mental, emotional, and spiritual lives in check. Thank you. We'll see you
Right.
later. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody.